In this lesson, we're going to go ahead and set up the coin for our track. Alright, so let's go ahead and add a new element to this game that we can collect coins as we're going along the track, just to add a little bit more of a interest to the game itself. So to get started, let's go ahead and create the coin game object. So up here at the top, we're going to go to Sprites, or in our project panel I should say, and then in the environment you should see this coin sprite. Now I want you to use the coin sprite object, and it looks like there are multiple coins here, and that's because it's animating. So it's actually spinning. So let's left click and drag that into the scene here. And then I want you to go to the anim clips, because I have this coin spin clip that has already been created. Let's go ahead and left click and drag that onto our coin spin object, and when we do that you'll notice that it creates this spinning coin animation controller. And so with that set to our object, whenever we hit play, you're going to notice that that coin is spinning there. Now before we do anything else, we need to create a collision for our coin. So with that spinning coin selected, let's actually go ahead and rename it. Let's call this coin. Okay. With that coin object selected there, let's go ahead and add a component to it, and we're going to call this or we're going to add in a physics component, and this is going to work with 3D objects. So what I want is my 3D ball to interact with this 2D object. So adding in a sphere collider to it will allow me to do so. So now with this sphere collider set to it, what I can do is I can draw that down. Let's make sure that it's set to trigger, and let's set its radius, and we're going to draw that down, and it should get pretty small. It's kind of hard to see, and I apologize for that. Let's actually move our coin up here. There we go. And so let's set this, let's draw that down, let's try to get it as close to the edge as possible. Let's do 0.5 on that one. That should give us plenty there. Alright, great. So now we have that set. We can go ahead and we can move our coin back into position, and what should happen is whenever we hit play, our coin's going to spin there, and you'll see that it's working. Now what I want to do before we get started with scripting this coin is I want to make it into a prefab, so that way we can use it over and over again. So I'm going to go to prefabs, and I'm going to right click and create new prefab. So we should see that right there. Let's go ahead and just call this coin and hit enter. And then we're going to select that coin from our hierarchy, and we're going to drag that right onto that prefab that we've just created. And there you'll see that it's in our scene. So now what we can do is we can simply left click and drag from our project folder, and we could drag in multiple coins. Now we could also just duplicate this, so we can hit Control D to duplicate and then just add this into the scene. Now you'll want to make sure that these coins are low enough to the ground that the player can actually collect them, okay, without doing anything crazy. So now we'll hit Control D again, we'll duplicate that, we'll put another one right up here, Control D, one at the end of that, and then Control D, and we'll put some like kind of out here in mid space, so hopefully they can get those. And then we'll put one right about here, okay, and then we'll place some right underneath the track, one at the top here, okay, and then we can kind of get kind of creative here. We can put one like right about here, as if they're coming up and then come down. Now we're not going to place all of these coins. I'm going to go ahead and stop here. I'll let you do the rest of those, and you can place those however you see fit. Now the really cool thing about this is I haven't created the script that is going to control the collision of these coins. So let's go ahead and do that now, because I'm going to create the script and I'm going to apply it to one, and then I'll show you how we can apply it to all of those if we've placed them just like this. So let's get started with our script. Let's go to the scripts folder, we'll right click and create a new C# script, and let's just simply call this coin. Okay, so on that, with the coin, we'll double click on that, bring it up inside of MonoDevelop, and on this we're going to come in and we're just going to set things up a little bit here. And the first thing that I need to do is I need to tell it what to do whenever we have collided with that. Now, because our coin collision or sphere collider is a trigger, we're going to use a new function. And this is going to be called void on trigger enter. Okay, we've seen on collision enter, but now we're using on trigger enter because it is now a trigger, not a collider. Now, we're going to check to see what collider is actually colliding with it. And I'm going to say, I'm going to pass in a variable into this function. So it's going to be checking for this collider object. And we're going to say collider, and then what the variable name is. In this case, we're going to say other, because it could be any game object that we want. Now, I'm going to specify exactly which game object can collide with this trigger and actually do something to it. So in this case, I'm going to check to see if other, okay, which is right here, if other.gameObject.tag is equal to player, okay, then I want it to execute this code here, meaning that if the player touches it, it's going to go ahead and destroy the object or set it to inactive, and then it's going to count up my UI. Now, we haven't created our UI yet, so we're not going to do that just yet. So let's go ahead and simply say game object, and whenever we use game object like this, what that means is it's looking for the game object that this script is on. Now, in this case, I've said other.gameObject, so this is looking for another game object that's being passed in. And we're actually looking for the game object with the tag of player. But here, we're just saying game object dot, and then we're telling it what to do. We're going to say set active, and in parentheses, we're going to say false. So meaning we're disabling that object, setting it to inactive. So what game object are we setting to inactive? The coin, or the object that this script is on. So now if we hit Control S to save that, let's go ahead and test this out. Let's go into Unity, and let's select one of our coins, and let's simply apply this script. So I'm going to go ahead and use the component here. So I'm going to add component. Let's choose scripts. I know that's off screen there, and then let's choose coin. Now with that set, let's go ahead and hit play. You'll notice that it makes that first coin disappear when we touch it, but the second coin, it's not disappearing. I know that I'm colliding with it, so why isn't it disappearing? Well, that coin object doesn't actually have the script tied to it. But watch this. Because all of these are prefabs of one another, what I can do is simply hit apply up here under the prefab, and now look at this coin. You'll see here at the bottom, we now have that script tied to it. So that's a very quick way of updating your prefabs, and that's one of the best uses for creating prefabs altogether. So now let's take a look. Let's go ahead and collect all these coins. Awesome. Oop, looks like I overshot the track and I've lost. Now we need to make sure that we set some sort of kill box for the player whenever they go below the track, but we'll do that a little later. Right now what I want to do is I want to actually give the player feedback that they are collecting the coins, and so we're going to create a coin counter next.